Let's definitely stay along the offensive line here and focus on the left tackle.
Sure.
Braxton Jones, in my opinion, and I'm not an offensive line expert, I thought he was a serviceable left tackle in pass protection. Ben Johnson has kind of made this an open competition. They draft Ozzie Trapillo from Boston College in the second round. Karan Amagaji is still around from the third round from Yale. What do you make of that situation, considering that Braxton Jones is coming off of the injury, but he's got all the experience? Like, this is a fifth-round guy that just took hold of a starting spot and never let it go.
Yeah, I thought, to your point, like, did a really admirable job last year, just a little, light in the hindquarters at times, and maybe gave up a little bit too much in way of push into the pocket, but is a guy that overall did a lot of good things. Ozzie Trapillo I liked a lot coming out of Boston College. Maybe not the most dynamic athlete in terms of bend, plays really well within himself, really strong technician, all the stuff that you expect, from BC offensive linemen, which I say begrudgingly as a member of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. It's a really impressive lineage there, and so I think any of those guys, to me, talent-wise, look like they're in a place where, again, factoring in the room that you've got with you and the fact that, if you're talking about Joe Tooney playing left guard right there, that to me is always huge. Who you're in the room with and who you're playing next to for someone that might be, if it's Braxton, then obviously he's got starting experience and we just work on that relationship. But if it is Ozzie and he gets in there as a young player, to have all of that experience and the eyes that you can see through. I went to camp with the New Orleans Saints back in the day when Jari Evans and Zach Streif were on the same right side of that line, and watching the way they communicated through things was incredible for a young player. So much of it they did without having to speak at that point. They'd played together for 9 years. They understood that, but they were always working in tandem. And so that's how you got to think of these little pods on the offensive line, the guys next to each other. And I think that experience right at that left guard spot is really going to help whoever winds up at left tackle.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm so excited to have had you on for this, just because of the fact that so much of the conversation about this offense in general has to do with the offensive line. It has to do with Ben Johnson. When do you think we can expect to see the full breadth of Ben Johnson's offense? Because I've been preaching patience.
Yes.
But that's not something that people necessarily want to hear. So the more people I can get to say this, the better. So what do you think are the expectations immediately, especially given the Bears have that week 5 bye? So they kind of have the starting point of the first 4 games to really kind of, evaluate where they're at.
Well, yeah, and I think it's worth reminding everyone, post-2011 CBA and the NFL, things changed in terms of the amount of time you're on the field in training camp. We've obviously also whittled away the amount of preseason games that we play. All that means is the first quarter of the NFL season is becoming an extended preseason, especially along the offensive lines. And while we've said glowing things about all these guys, this is a unit where almost none of those guys have worked together before.
Right.
Exactly.
That communication and continuity takes a lot of time to build up. And so I'd say if the first quarter of the season looks a little bit out of sorts in that regard, don't panic. That buy in week 5, huge, where now you get through that. You've got that time and opportunity to get, catch your breath, self-scout a little bit, and then work off what you've seen there and problem solve, to me is invaluable. But I always now in the NFL look at that quarter mark at all right, 4 games into the season, we can try and look for certain things, but understand development for me now really starts there just in terms of the preseason timeline for these guys.